What's going on, guys? I'm Jay the Black. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in. I want to talk about this 29-year-old woman by the name of Sania Khan. She was living in the Chicago area. She was just on her way to move with a friend. She was going to go stay with a friend in a place that she, I believe, grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And her husband or ex-husband decided that he wasn't going to let her go. So he traveled from his home in Georgia to Chicago to end her life. Now, I believe he probably gave her an ultimatum. Either you stay or I'm going to end your life. And she decided that she didn't want to be. Well, he probably didn't say it that way. He probably in his mind, he had it made up to where if she didn't stay with him, he was going to end her. And she did not want to stay with him, and he ended her life. This was a woman that did not want to be with him. You see, this is sad, and this is the type of society that we are in. I think a lot of guys these days don't know how to take rejection. Now, if you look at the community that she's from, and how she even said herself, she was getting a lot of criticism, not only from her family, but from his family for not wanting to be in a relationship or marriage with him anymore. She just fell out of love with him. And what a lot of people don't understand is it doesn't matter what culture you're from. If a woman is fully Americanized, she's not going to want to stay in a relationship she doesn't want to be in. She's not. If she doesn't want to be with you, she's not going to stay with you. It doesn't matter what culture she's from. Westernized women only accept one culture, and that is the modern culture that allows them to do whatever it is they want to do. And if they're unhappy with you, unfortunately for you, as a guy that wants to marry her, she's not going to want to stay with you. And if you look at her circle of friends, wasn't a lot of people who were from that ultra traditional Muslim background, maybe, but from the people that they interviewed, it didn't seem like it. It seemed like somebody that was really westernized and wanted to do what she wanted to do. She did not want to be in a loveless marriage on her end, and she decided to end that marriage. And her ex, Raheel, decided that she would be better off if she wasn't here than if she was here, because if she wasn't going to be with him, then she wasn't going to be with anybody else. And a lot of you guys got to understand that if you're marrying a woman who's westernized, it doesn't matter if she's from the same culture as you. If she's a westernized woman, if she doesn't want to be with you, she's not going to be with you. And there's nothing that you can do that's going to convince her to stay. These women do not care about trying to uphold a traditional culture with you if they are unhappy. And it doesn't take a lot for a Western woman to become unhappy. But I will say this, though. I believe he was also upset because she was making TikTok videos speaking about their marriage. And that's not something that I can agree with either. This man should have never taken this woman's life. But when you go to social media and you air out your dirty laundry, so to speak, these types of things can happen. There was a situation that happened. I think a woman in Louisiana, she was going online, going back and forth with her ex's new girlfriend, and she was, saying all these things. And when she was on live stream one day, he went to her house while she was live to, basically confront her about what she had been saying and stuff like that. And he ended up ending her. He ended up ending her too. You got to understand, ladies, not everything is for social media. Not everything is for social media. I don't condone what this guy has done, but there are certain things that don't need to be on TikTok or Twitter or YouTube. But unfortunately, these apps, we live through these apps. When we get up every day, we don't go to check our text messages. We check our DMs on Instagram. We check our Twitter mentions. TikTok, like, we look for things now. We look for people's approval, people's virtual shoulders to cry on. That's what we look for on social media. And that's unfortunately what she had did ultimately until her demise. And that's according to The Sun. TikTokers shared chilling videos about red flags and divorced before being ended by her ex-husband, who ended himself as well. A TikToker shared a video about her divorce in a bid to break the stigma surrounding it. Has lost her life due to her ex-husband ending it. Sania Khan, who's 29, says 36-year-old Raheel Ahmed were found both with shot wounds to their heads on Monday in an apparent double ending. Sorry. Ahmed traveled from his Georgia home to Sania's condo in Chicago, where he shot her in the head before turning the weapon on himself. Sania was pronounced deceased at the scene, and Ahmed was declared deceased at the hospital. Friends of the couple told the Chicago Sun-Times their divorce was finalized in May, despite Ahmed's attempts to save their marriage. Sania, who went by Gemini Girl _099 on TikTok, posted videos about the stigma she felt with her family in divorcing Ahmed. "You think you can hurt me?" she wrote in one. My family members, basically her family members told her that she left her husband, that she basically would let Shaitan win, that I dress like a streetwalker, and if I move back to my hometown, they'll end themselves. Going through a divorce as a South Asian woman feels like you failed at life sometimes, she wrote another. The way the community labels you, the lack of emotional support you receive, and the pressure to stay with someone because what will people say is isolating. Again, you're not going to keep these women married that don't want to be married. It makes it harder for women to leave marriages that they shouldn't have been in to begin with. Khan, a photographer, wrote on her website she focused on weddings and couples photography. "My favorite quote is, 'Every day above ground is a good day,'" she wrote. She says she moved to Chicago in June 2021. "I used to love travel so much that I was a flight attendant," she said. "My favorite layover was always Chicago, and who would have known 2 years later I would have moved there." She was originally from a mountain town in Tennessee called Chattanooga. "There's almost nothing I love more than hiking and camping," she said. A friend of Khan's, who only went by his first name Grant, told the Times she went to Chattanooga School of Arts and Science and double major in psychology and women's studies. Oh boy, women's studies. Women's studies. Let me tell you something right now, man. Marriage and women's studies do not go together. When I saw that she double majored in psychology and women's studies, that's all you need to know. She then became a social worker and then flight attendant so she could travel and so she could become a training photographer. She could make a friend out of anyone and would always be there for them during their moments, Grant said. "You would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would say something bad about Sania because just knowing Sania added so much light to your life." Another friend, Gabriella Bordeaux, told Time magazine she and Khan recently signed a lease together for a home in Chattanooga. She had just landed in Chicago to help Khan pack and begin their drive south when she heard the news. Sania was in my future. "I had at least the next few years knowing that I wasn't going to be alone and I was going to have my partner in crime next to me," she said. She says she saw red flags in Ahmed. Khan was encouraged to stay, pleaded with to stay by her family and ex-husband family. Bordeaux says, "I didn't see someone as spirited as her being so manipulated or controlled by someone, but she was. He monitored what she wore. He was wary about who she hung out with, how she presented herself. She was leaving. They hadn't lived together for a long time. She had a home here with me. I was there to bring her home. There was no reconciling. This man did not go there to salvage marriage. He went there with a weapon for a reason. He knew I was coming. My social media and hers is completely public. It was his last opportunity and he took it." Well, her actual Instagram is closed down, but I get what she's saying. he wanted to salvage it, but he couldn't. That's why I tell you guys, man, you need to, a lot of you guys got to educate yourselves on modern women. It doesn't matter what culture these women are from. If they are westernized, if they have friends in their circle who are basically the opposite of the type of culture and people that she grew up with, maybe, then, you know, you're not going to be able to control that woman. You're not going to be able to control that woman. And this woman did not want to be controlled. She wanted to live her life her own way. She wanted to be just like the rest of these chicks out here who date and don't really get into anything serious, right? Because what it seemed to me is that she had people in her ear telling her, you shouldn't be with this guy. Look at what he's doing. He's trying to control you. And when you actually look at her videos, I don't really get the sense that this guy was like brutal towards her. She just didn't want to be with him. And because this guy felt like she was embarrassing and humiliating him, instead of him walking away, he felt like he had to do something drastic. He was more into her than she was into him. And that's what a lot of these guys these days, they fall into this being with a woman that you want more than the woman wants you. So that's why if you want to get married, man, you know, marry a woman that fits your values. Don't just marry her just because you share the same culture. Just because you share the same culture does not mean that you have the same values. She could have completely different values than you, but you share the same culture. And that's what it seemed like. And he couldn't let go. You know, he's a little bit older than her. Maybe he felt rejected. But a lot of men, it doesn't matter where you're from, learn to move on. Taking this woman's life did nothing. And this guy is exactly where he should be for what he did. So let me know in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Like this video and share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will see y'all next one.